Today's lesson is badminton star Dai Zuying on top of the world. Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Candice.
And here we are in day 2 of our look at Dai Zuying, probably the most famous athlete in Taiwan these days. I see her all over the television and stuff, and I don't even watch that much badminton. It's because she advertises many products. I think Uber Eats. I don't think of Uber Eats without thinking of her funny TV commercials that she does.
I'll be sure to keep an eye out and look for her advertisements.
Yeah, they're quite a laugh. Anyways, let's look at some of the other things that she's been challenged with away from the badminton court and find out some of her other successes off the badminton court. If you can imagine, she has time to do other things. Well, she does, and she does those things very well too. Anyways, let's listen to the first part of today's article.
Being number one comes with demanding training, intense pressure to perform, and newfound fame. While these have all been challenges for Dai, she's taken them in stride. When you encounter difficulties, you can cry, you can be sad, but you must never give up, she said. The reserved badminton player has learned to handle her life in the spotlight and has even opened up to her fans through live streams on social media. To communicate with international media and spectators, she also began taking regular English lessons.
大家好，第一部分我们看到形容词 intense， 指强烈的、极度的。例如 Rebecca has an intense fear of bats. Rebecca 对蝙蝠有强烈的恐惧感。或者My favorite tennis player made an intense effort, but he lost the match. 我最喜欢的网球运动员付出极大的努力，但他输了比赛。接着我们看到单字 spotlight， 这个字是名词，指大众关注的焦点或是聚光灯。举例来说 Ever since Sam won the contest, the spotlight has been on him. 自从 Sam 赢得比赛之后，大众关注的焦点就一直在他身上。也可以说 The actor is standing in the spotlight. 那位演员站在聚光灯下。另外补充一个 spotlight 的相关片语 Shine a spotlight on something. Shine, S-H-I-N-E, shine a spotlight on something. 表示使点点点受到关注或是使点点点成为焦点。像是 If people continue to shine a spotlight on the suffering in this world, things will eventually get better. 如果人们持续关注世界上的苦难，事情终究会好转的。再来我们看到名词 spectator， 指观众。例如 The spectators cheered when the soccer player scored a goal. 当足球运动员进球时，观众们都在欢呼。也可以说 Spectators painted their faces in the colors of their favorite team. 观众们在脸上涂了他们最喜欢球队的颜色。
Let's dive in. The paragraph starts, being number one comes with demanding training, intense pressure to perform, and newfound fame. So, as we mentioned already, being a young athlete in such a competitive game must be quite difficult because when you're a teenager, you're still learning a lot about yourself and your strengths. And when you are playing in such a competitive sport, you don't get to do all the stuff that your friends are doing or that kids the same age are doing. You have to focus on your training and, of course, keep your eye on the prize. So there's always intense pressure to perform. So when we talk about a demanding training schedule, she probably has to train quite a lot of hours in the day. She probably has a set regimen that requires a lot of dedication. And then, of course, there's probably pressure from everyone, her sponsors, her coach, her family, to win the top spot.
Absolutely. The pressure from all of those and also the media, right? The Taiwanese public. We all want her to win too. So if something's intense, it's kind of powerful. It puts a lot of force or pressure on you. We can talk about things like storms being an intense typhoon will be, category 4, category 5, really powerful, possibly even dangerous. So a lot of pressure. Certain jobs, being a surgeon or being a pilot flying an airplane through a storm, you would be, facing some pretty intense pressure at times. But all of this has also brought her a lot of fame. Fame is just the noun form of the adjective famous. When a lot of people know you and your face is on magazine covers or, you're appearing in your own TV commercials for companies, you obviously have fame. In other words, you're famous. And this is kind of newfound fame. She's been a top badminton player for a number of years, but she's only really been known to everyone in the country, not just the badminton fans, for a few years. So it's kind of new. It's newfound fame, or new fame, we could also say. Now, while these have all been challenges for Dai, she's taken them in stride. Good for her. And yeah, I would agree. Knowing how long she's been a top player and how little we've heard of sort of dramatic things happening, her fighting with her coaches or quitting tournaments or yelling at reporters when she loses a game. No, she doesn't do that. She's kind of taken them, or we can also say take everything in stride. That means basically you handle it. There might be intense pressure, there might be a lot of demands on you and all this stuff, but it doesn't really bother you. It's kind of not affecting you on a personal level. You're still the same nice person that you were before you were famous. And she has a good quote here, doesn't she?
Yeah, lots of people let fame go to their heads, which, as you mentioned, sometimes they get into arguments or there's a lot of drama. But what she says is, when you encounter difficulties, you can cry. You can be sad, but you must never give up, she said. That is impressive and also an inspiration to a lot of her fans. The paragraph goes on to read, the reserved badminton player has learned to handle her life in the spotlight and has even opened up to her fans through live streams on social media. Some people are naturally reserved and some people are naturally gregarious. They're more outgoing. Reserved probably means a little closer to shy. If she's not shy, she doesn't always come across as very outgoing. Maybe she keeps herself to herself. And so it has been difficult sometimes for her to handle life in the spotlight. So when we shine a spotlight on something, we think of the theater, we think of a bright light. Every detail is exposed. We see everything. So even though it's been challenging for her to have her life seen by the public, she has tried to share, to open up to her fans. So she tries to share more about her life and her thoughts with her fans through live streams on social media.
Absolutely. Yeah. Life in the spotlight and fame or being famous. That's kind of the same idea here. She sort of broadcasts and films herself training or arriving at a tournament, traveling, things like that. And this, of course, helps her keep in touch with her fans. And this is sort of her less reserved side, right? As you mentioned, reserved can be like shy, like your emotions, your feelings, or it can just be your behavior. You just like to keep things private, just keep things for yourself and your family. But by doing these live streams, she's being a bit less reserved. She's opening up and making that connection to fans that, of course, people like today to get through social media. And then it says to communicate with international media and spectators, she also began taking regular English lessons because, these are world famous athletes, right? They don't just compete in Taiwan or around here. They compete all over the world. So there's international media. She's the #1 player. Of course, the international media will be covering her, doing interviews and stuff like that. The spectators, these are the fans, but basically the fans that go to the matches, that go to the tournaments, that pay the tickets and stuff. And you've probably seen when you watch tennis or badminton, after the match is over, when the players are coming off the court, many of the fans will be there with posters and pictures and books and t-shirts to sign, and they want a selfie or something like that. So that's also good for her. And it's also good that she can speak a little bit of English to communicate with with the people who don't speak Chinese. So she seems like she's really got a good head on her shoulders. She's taking everything in stride indeed. All right, it's the time for the second part of our article, so let's give that a listen right now.
Ambitious as ever, Dai recently completed her PhD at the University of Taipei's Graduate Institute of Sports Training. Thanks to online courses and impressive time management, Dai managed to complete her program on time despite her busy schedule. The day after she completed the final oral exam for her dissertation, she set off for the 2022 Indonesia Open. There, she triumphed over China's Wang Jiyi to earn the women's singles title.
第二部分我们看到单字 triumph， 这个字是动词，表示获得胜利、成功。举例来说 The Swiss skier kept the lead for most of the race and finally triumphed. 瑞士滑雪选手持续领先整场比赛，并于最后取得胜利。或者 Kenny hopes to triumph at the tennis match this weekend. Kenny 希望在这个周末的网球赛中可以获胜。
And we're back. So Dai Zuying, she's doing really well on and off the court, clearly. But what about in school? Is she doing well there? You might think with her demanding training, her intense pressure to perform, and her busy schedule, she focuses on being just a professional badminton player, right? Well, wrong.
Yeah, she seems to be more of an all-rounder, and I think that's part of her personality, which is ambitious, described as ambitious. In sports, she's ambitious, she's focused, she's always reaching for the top, and that seems to be a part of her personal life as well, in her education, in other aspects of her life too. I was really quite impressed to read that she had completed her PhD, which is actually a really high level of education because you have to finish high school, then you have to do your undergraduate, then you do your master's, and then you do your PhD. So those are several years of study and dedication.
Absolutely. I guess we could call her Dr. Dai Zuying, right? Because if you have a PhD, yeah, it's a doctorate level. It's postgraduate education. It's something that takes, as you said, a lot of work, a lot of hard study and stuff. And yeah, so she's clearly ambitious both on and off the badminton court. Ambitious, of course, is the adjective form of ambition. When you really want to achieve a lot, you have ambition. If that's the kind of person you are ambitious. So she got this PhD from the University of Taipei's Graduate Institute of Sports Training. Basically, she could go off and be one of the top badminton coaches in the world and probably work with players anywhere she wanted. Once she decides to stop being a player, she can become a coach. She's a doctor of badminton and sports science. How did she manage to do this? That's a good question. You can't really picture her going to class and then flying off to tournaments and then flying back to do tests and stuff like that. No one has that much time. Well, it says, thanks to online courses and impressive time management, Dai managed to complete her program on time despite her busy schedule. I kind of don't like reading about people like this because it makes me feel super lazy. Even if I get a lot done during the day, she's a top badminton player and doing a PhD. So I just can't imagine where she finds the time. But there are some things that helped her. That's why it says thanks to. Because of these things, you're able to do something. So you might say, thanks to my parents, I was able to get a good education. You're giving credit to something that is kind of outside of you. It's not just her hard work. It's online courses and impressive time management. She could study online while she was in other countries playing badminton. So she completed her program on time despite her busy schedule. Now, we use despite to kind of show that there's these two things, and they kind of work opposite each other, but even though they're working opposite each other, something still happened, right? So, for example, you might say, we still went to the park for a picnic despite the dark clouds that we saw. You might think that the dark clouds would stop the picnic from happening, but you're saying, no, there were the dark clouds, but we still did the thing. We still completed the action. She has a busy schedule, but she still completed her program on time.
Yeah, another example would be, even though she has a busy schedule, she was still able to complete all of her courses because of the ability to access online courses. And of course, she sounds like a real professional. Even in her private life, she's able to manage her time really efficiently. It goes on to say the day after she completed the final oral exam for her dissertation, she set off for the 2022 Indonesia Open.
Wow.
Wow. So that's really impressive. So there was obviously a lot of pressure to finish your dissertation. And then almost immediately after she finished the oral part of the dissertation, she left to compete in the 2022 Indonesia Open. So a dissertation is usually a research paper on a topic within your field of study. So Dai studied sports science. So for example, if I were studying sports science, I might write my dissertation about the role of certain muscles in different sports, or another example, how different exercises affect men and women differently at different stages of their lives. And then the fact that she then immediately set off for the Open, which means that she left for the Open, went on a journey, went on an adventure, means she must have a boundless supply of energy.
Absolutely. A lot of people would maybe take a holiday after their final oral report, go, all right, that was a lot of work. Now it's time to take a break. She said, that was a lot of work. Now it's time to go and play in a badminton tournament. So she did. She set off. That basically means she left. She went off to do something. And you might also imagine, well, she probably went there but didn't play too hard, just kind of relaxed. No. She won. There, it says, at the Indonesian Open in 2022, there, she triumphed over China's Wang Zhiyi to earn the women's singles title. So she got her PhD one day, and then a couple days later, she won this big badminton tournament. To triumph is to win, to beat the opponent, to come out number one in the end. All right, guys, we have one more short part of our article to check out, so we're going to do that, and then we'll come back to talk about it.
Always working to improve herself on and off the court, Dai Zuying has become an inspiration for many of her fans. With her impressive skills and commitment, there's no telling what she'll achieve next.
第三部分我们看到名词 inspiration， 指鼓舞或启发人心的人事物或是灵感，像是 That encouraging story is an inspiration to millions. 那个鼓舞人心的故事对数百万人来说是个激励，或是 The artist says he gets his inspiration from daily life. 那位艺术家说他从日常生活中得到灵感。另外补充这个字的动词 inspire, I-N-S-P-I-R-E, inspire, 表示鼓舞、激励或是给点灵感。举例来说 The children were inspired by the speaker's courage. 孩子们受到演讲者的勇气激励。或者 Joe said his painting was inspired by a trip he took to the English countryside. Joe 说他的绘画灵感来自于他到英国乡村的旅行。
And we are back. So Dai Zuying, she's doing really well in most parts of her life. That is clear. And as we get to the end of the article, we kind of wrap it up by reading, always working to improve herself on and off the court, Dai Zuying has become an inspiration for many of her fans. Clearly, yes, she is trying to improve herself. She got a PhD, even though she's the #1 female badminton player. That wasn't good enough. She wanted to do well in school. So this is succeeding both on the court, playing badminton, that's the badminton court where the players play, and off the court. You could say on and off the field, on and off the stage, kind of talking about a person who has one life and is successful in one career, but also has success outside of that career. And this has turned her into an inspiration. When you're an inspiration, you're a hero, you're an idol, you inspire people. That would be the verb form. This is the noun form. If you look up to her, and I'm sure there are many young badminton players across Taiwan and around the world who look up to her and say, one day I want to be as good as her. And also a PhD. She's quite an inspiration.
Yeah, I look at the phrase on and off the court, and I think they stress that because a lot of people are only good in one area of their life. So a lot of sports people have impressive careers, have impressive talent and real commitment on the court, but that doesn't always translate into other parts of their life. And I think they're trying to illustrate that Dai Zu-ying is an all-rounder, that her commitment and her hard work seem to translate into the personal side of her life. And so, of course, as you say, people are incredibly inspired by her. She's a role model, I'm sure, to a lot of up-and-coming young sports stars. And then the paragraph goes on to conclude, with her impressive skills and commitment, there's no telling what she'll achieve next. Well, she's been unpredictable. She's an aggressive player. So with those attributes, she'll probably take those things into whatever she does into the future. And her commitment, she doesn't give up. She sticks to what she wants. She's really ambitious, so she'll make a decision and she'll do what it takes to get to her goal. So she's got impressive commitment as well as skills. So I'm sure she'll do well in whatever she chooses to do next.
Absolutely. Top badminton coach, minister of sports in the President Dai Zu-ying. Who knows? I mean, I wouldn't put it past her. She seems to have the energy, the talent, and the ambition and the intelligence to do almost anything she puts her mind to. All right, it's time to listen to our Chinese teacher. Let's go and do that while I have a nap.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分有一句写到，在他完成专题论文期末口试的隔天，他就出发去参加2022年印尼羽球公开赛。好，文中用到 set off for 加名词来表达出发前往点点点。那我们来整理一下片语动词 set off 的常见用法。第一种呢，就是课文用法 set off 是做不及物用来表达出发启程，那么之后常常会接 on 或者是 for 去接名词，像 they set off on an adventure to find treasure， 他们展开寻宝的冒险之旅。好，那么第二个呢 set off 可以做及物用来表达引发激起，可能是引发某活动或是一系列的事件。举例来说 The video set off a series of parodies， 那支影片引发了一系列的滑稽模仿作品。好，那么第三个我们可以拿 set off 做及物用来表达触发引爆，可能像是触发警报器引爆炸弹等等。例如 She accidentally set off the car alarm， 她不小心触发了汽车警报器。那么第四个我们可以用 set somebody off 去表达使某人开始哭笑或是大叫，这常常是指某件事让人产生了激烈或者是负面的反应。好，那再读到课文最后一句，凭借他令人钦佩的球技与投入，他接下来的成就是无法预料的。文中是用到 there's no telling 点点点来表达什么什么是无法预料的。那这边我们要介绍的句型就是 there is no 加上动词 ing， 它可以用来表达是不可能怎么样的或是无法怎么样的，意思就跟 it is impossible to 加原形动词这样的句型意思差不多。那我们以下介绍几个常见的用法咯。第一个是 there is no telling 或者是 there is no knowing， 表示不知道点点点，无从得知点点点，无法预料点点点。那么后面常常会接 WH 疑问词或者是 if 所引导的子句。举例来说 There's no telling how she will react to the news， 不知道她对这个消息会有什么反应。好，那第二个补充的是 There's no turning back， 不可能回头了。这句话通常是用在事情已成定局，没办法反悔，表示无法回头，没办法打退堂鼓了。好，那第三个补充的是 There's no stopping somebody 或是 There's no holding somebody 表示阻止不了某人，挡也挡不住某人。举例来说 Once she starts talking about her children, there's no stopping her 她一旦开始聊她的小孩就没完没了，阻止不了她了。那么第四个补充的是 There is no denying 可以表达不可否认……那么后面常常会接 that 子句。举例来说 There is no denying that chocolate is popular all over the world 无可否认的是，巧克力在世界各地都很受欢迎。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Demanding.The responsibilities of being a parent can be quite demanding. Intense. There was an intense silence as Karen prepared to take the final penalty kick. Fame. Fame comes with many advantages and disadvantages. Ambitious. Because he was so ambitious, Stephen took many advanced classes. Despite. Despite the obvious risk, Piper made a big investment in the new company. Triumph.Gilbert triumphed over the other candidates in the election. Inspiration. The Beatles are an inspiration for many young musicians.
Discussion Starter starts now!
And we are back with our discussion starter. Let's check out what it has here for us today. So the question we have is, do you think it's a good idea for talented teenagers to become sports professionals? Why or why not?
Well, I do think it's good that Dai Zhu-Ying's father recognized her talent at a young age because it put her in a position to hone her talent, really develop her talent and perfect her game at an early age. And we know that athletes really perform at their peak when they're younger and still in very good physical condition.
All right, well, I'll take the opposite point of view and answer in the other way. I think the pressure of professional sports is too intense for teenagers because they still should be focused on their education and their bodies are still changing. They're still growing, so maybe the intense training should wait until they're a little bit older. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I'm Candice.
See you next time.